Today we're going to talk about globalization versus nationalism. Our outline of today is an introduction, why they are against each other, culture, language, economy, why globalization is better for the world, and then we're going to take coronavirus as a case study. Every person in the world has a different opinion on everything. In our world, we have different kinds of ideologies that differ from country to country. Each country chooses the ideology they best believe fits in their country. We have different political systems that also are chosen by the country for whatever reason they prefer. They know what will represent them best in front of everyone. Each country has the right to choose whatever ideology or political system they would like to practice because they are the ones who are going to deal with the consequences. Two known ideologies that aren't similar at all are globalization and nationalism. Starting off with globalization, it is the connection of different parts of the world, resulting in the expansion of international cultural, economic, political activities. It is the movement and integration of goods and people among different countries. It can be seen as an open market around the world. While nationalism is an ideology and movement that is based on one's own nation and support for its interests, especially having the goal of gaining and maintaining the nation's sovereignty over its homeland. In other words, it is taking pride in one's country and having some historical and cultural ties to their native country wherever they are. Meaning whatever they do, they're gonna remain and increase their love to their country. Why they are against each other. The first and the main point they argue about is in globalization, they believe that all men around the world should work together, while in nationalism, they believe that all in the states should work together within their country. The second point is in nationalism, they don't want to share their information, they don't want to work with others, they want to stay alone and work on their things separately. It is somehow seen as a selfish way. While in globalization, they want all to align and work together and share everything. They believe in that if they do so, everything can turn out better and they can solve problems easier and find solutions faster. The third point is in globalization, we are all open to each other. We have connections with other countries and we do things and solutions with others. They believe that we all are the citizens of the world. While for nationalism, they don't really care about that. They only care about their own interests, and their identity means everything to them. Having stated an introduction and why both sides hate each other somehow, today I'm going to argue why globalization is better for our world and why we should prefer globalization. Starting with culture and globalization. If we go back in time, we can realize that people didn't know about different cultures. People weren't educated about different cultures. Even if they wanted to, there was no way they could educate themselves about different cultures. With the help of globalization and the increase of technology, people are able to learn new and different cultures. People are able to experience different ideas and understand different backgrounds and opinions on many things. It helps increase the understanding between people all around the world, and people have something they can share with others. Because of globalization, people are sharing their cultures. Because of that, today we eat burgers and pizzas everywhere around the world, and we can find an Italian ice cream right on the corner. Because of globalization, you now can find a Lebanese restaurant in Germany and the US, like you can find their cuisines here in Lebanon. Because of globalization, people are wearing the same brands all over the world. While nationalism, all they care about is their nation and the culture of their own nation and the identity and history of their nation. They don't really want to know what other countries could provide them with. They are so self-in-love that they want to convey their vision of how they see their country to the rest of the world to convince them how special their country actually is to them. In nationalism, they only give their honor and respect to their country and not to the rest of the world, like in globalization. If you go back in time, we would realize that if they travel to another country, they wouldn't be able to communicate with others. They wouldn't be able to express each other with words with others because they didn't have a common language. They didn't know what language to use to try to talk to others. With the help of globalization, those things changed. You now can speak with each other people from different parts around the world with common languages and shared languages like English and Arabic and French. With the help of globalization, you now can study any language you want everywhere around the world. Now, if you travel around the world or go to a certain airport, you will always find someone who speaks the language at least one language you know. Because of globalization, people are willing to study different languages and educate themselves more to be able to express themselves with people. Because of globalization, we can now take the SATs in Lebanon and have the international baccalaureate available. Also, because of globalization, people can share their education skills with other countries. People are able to have a higher education, even in small countries, because they're adapting different education styles from other countries. We we also are able to have exchange programs with different countries in our world. While in nationalism, they only focus on themselves. They don't really care what others speak, how their educational system works, or how many languages they know and why they can speak with others that easily. They focus on their own things and what their country can provide them. All they want to do is keep their nation in the best image. They accept the idea that they need technology to function and to keep going in the world. However, they will never let go of the feeling of nationalism, and they can never let go of for their love to their country. Also, if you go back in time, many countries had lack of resources. Many countries needed a lot of things that they couldn't provide or couldn't grow in their own country. Because of globalization, people can now have access to everything around the world. Many countries around the world depend on trade. Their whole economy actually could be based on trade and what they get and the import they have from other countries. All that was made available for them with the help of globalization and the communication they can have with other countries. They can now travel freely to other countries around the world. Because of that, we now have access to huge countries and we are able to get from their products and services that before was seen as a dream and impossible. Trade among the countries keeps increasing. Because of globalization, we now have foreign investments and you can go and invest in a different country which can boost your economy and could benefit you a lot. We now have social interactions between countries that could actually turn out to be great business deals and communication increases between countries based on trade and other things. What globalization also did to the economy, it created a greater competition, meaning that now the consumers can get better services at a better price because the companies try to compete against each other. Also, globalization provided great opportunities to small countries that improved themselves and got bigger and bigger over time because they could have new investments in other countries and their product would get known. Countries also are able to manage their ideas and practice among other countries. While nationalism, that isn't the case because they only have one boundary trade. Exchange is only made across their own nation, not outside their borders. Different countries aren't even able to be allowed in their trade. They want to benefit their own economy and their own state, which could be seen as a positive thing, but sometimes you have lack of resources and you need to have different investments, but they don't allow that. They also have a fixed management practice that they follow and won't change. Unlike in globalization, they might change through communicating with other countries. Having discussed the previous information, many still don't believe that globalization is better for our world, even if it's obvious. Because of globalization, things changed around the world. Globalization brought the whole world together, and we now have access to everything. Because of globalization, the world can act as a family and work all together. Because of global